Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Articulate Thoughts. And whoever you are, wherever you are, and whenever you're tuning into this broadcast, I'd like to welcome you to my personal blog where I'm sharing some thoughts, ideas, experiences, and observations about conscious dance, which is a movement practice that uses dance as a form of movement meditation. And this week's episode, I want to talk about the practical use of conscious dance. And the primary motivation of me using this theme this week is admittedly, I got triggered this past week. And I was wrestling in my head a whole lot, and it just kind of boiled down to this theme. And allow me to share you about this triggering experience a little bit. Um, so I was at this party, and it was a Christmas party, and there was a DJ, and there was some Indian food and some wine, and just a bunch of really cool people who are body practitioners, primarily yoga practitioners, and we're just kind of mingling and having a good time and whatnot. And there's a DJ and there's a dance floor, so I started dancing, and I was dancing for probably more time than I was not dancing at the party. So there was that. And so I was in a room of 30 or 40 people, and I was probably the only person that was dancing like most of the time. And some people were kind of trickling in and out of the dance as well. And a good homie of mine that is a martial arts practitioner, he joined me for a lot of the time as well. And that was a really, really cool just to see how he moves on the dance floor after seeing him in the yoga studio and knowing that he does Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Just to see how he moves on the dance floor was really fascinating to me. But usually I'm accustomed to the opposite. If I'm doing a dance, I'm in a room where there's 20 dancers and maybe like 3 people on the floor just kind of doing their own thing. So it was very interesting to be in a room where there's 30, 40 people just kind of looking in and watching the dance and just doing their own thing. And then at the end of the night I was exhausted and I was kind of tired, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go home. I'm tying my shoes, and I hear these 2 people and talking, and I don't know who they are. I didn't really glance in their direction, so I have no idea who they are. But this first person asks, "Have you ever tried ecstatic dance before?" And this other person says, "Yeah, but it's a little too hippie for me." So I go home. I'm like, and I'm obviously like rattled up. I'm like, too hippie? Like, what does that even fucking mean? Like, too hippie? So I'm painting this image in my head. I'm erroneously making this assumption that by hippie they mean they get this image of people walking into a room and they're just kind of fooling around and dancing on the floor, or just kind of being all weird and just kind of like very dismissive, like, okay, that's cool, if that's what you want to do, good for you, but I'm gonna go over here and do some real stuff like yoga or martial arts or lift weights or CrossFit or whatever it is they're doing. Again, my own story, my own assumption. Maybe they're just thinking that's too hippie for me, and that's where it ends. So anyways, I was wrestling with this, and I feel like conscious dance, like all things, there's a full spectrum. There's like the yin, the yang, the positive, good feeling, and then the negative, dark feeling, all that kind of stuff. And I feel, um, and I also observe and experience for the vast majority, most facilitators stick to the inside in the conscious dance. It's a lot about connecting and feeling good and what feels better, and kind of reaching up to this ecstatic place where everything is ecstasy and bliss. It's great. Now there's this other portion where there's the chaos, there's the letting go, surrender, releasing, and sweating and putting in the effort to exhaust yourself and just exhausting yourself, so then you're open to new things, emptying the teacup, so to speak. You're emptying the teacup and really pushing yourself. Now, this second half is very rarely experienced in its purest form, for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it takes a lot of guts for for a facilitator to walk into a room and take a group of 10, 20, 30 people and say, get into your chaos. Because a lot of people, if there's that much energy going on in the room and this like really intense intense feeling fills the room, and you have this music that's really dark and really bassy and really putting up all this energy, some people get mental breakdowns. Some people could freak out, or some people kind of shut down, and when they confront that shadow, they just either freeze, they run, or they just break down. And it takes a very, very strong individual to hold the space in that particular thing. And I think, it's a good thing that, not many people do that, because otherwise there'll be this backlash and a lot of people. So there's that. However, I think for the vast majority of people who walk into a conscious dance for the first time, they're going to get that facilitator that sticks to the light and positive side. So, in terms of the practical use of conscious dance, the practical use of conscious dance uses the full spectrum of the whole thing. It's that's common sense. It's like saying, if you're gonna be let's say you walk into a yoga class and you say, okay, I'm only gonna use these set of poses. Oh, we're doing this pose. I'm not gonna use this pose because I don't like it. I don't feel good using it. So you don't really involve yourself in that. So that's everyone to each their own. Everyone's got to feel safe and comfortable in what they're doing. However, there is great, tremendous opportunity for growth and for self-realization if the willingness to push past that discomfort and that doubtful, uncomfortable feeling, that's the realm, that's the uncharted territory, and that's the realm where transformation can really, really occur. And when I dance, so I've experienced a practitioner that uses this full spectrum, and I've done multiple workshops with this level of facilitation, and that's where the most transformative experience happens, in my opinion, and in my experience, and in my observation. I went to a workshop where we experienced this full spectrum, and at the very end, one of the practitioners in the room said, I got more out of this weekend workshop, these 3 days. I got more out of it than 20 years of counseling and therapy. I don't know. I don't know what else you could really say to that, but like that, for someone to have that experience and share it, I think that says a lot. So that's one person. There's a lot to be said about that, and everyone's personal experience with the dance. But so when I experience these types of dances, and I've learned how much of a transformative experience can be held in it, I take those teachings and I take those attitudes to every single dance. That's why when you walk into a room and you see me dancing, there's a good chance that I'm using not just subtle movements, but a lot of times I'm using bigger movements. For actually the majority of the time, I'm using really big movements because, first of all, I don't get to express myself openly and honestly to other people very frequently. I'm usually in situations where I have to compose myself a certain way because I'm at a job, or I don't have to, but I choose to, and I succumb to the influence of the situation, and I adhere to it. But for me to be listening to music that makes me feel something and to open myself and express that self openly and honestly is a very, very rare occasion. So when I am in that situation, I take full advantage of it. I'm just like, I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I want. This feels good. That's what I'm going to do, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is I'm exerting that effort because I want to break a sweat. I want to open myself. I want to empty my teacup. So then I want to release the stories. I want to release the programming, and I can do that through the sweat, through sweating and exerting myself. And the other aspect of that is putting in the effort, because like 100%, like pushing myself to a point where I'm totally exhausted, I'm sweating, I'm breathing heavy, I can barely breathe. That's what I want to put myself in, because I do have a habit in my everyday life where I don't exert full effort. I do things halfway, I half-ass things because I have the safety net of then saying, well, of course I didn't achieve the result I wanted, I just half-assed it. So, of course I didn't get what I want. So, or the result that I wanted. And, it's a very safe and, protective way of going about life. But at the end of the day, that's not the proper way to conduct myself if I really want to optimize myself as a full potential human being. And when I'm in that conscious dance and I'm exerting myself, I'm putting all that effort in, that's me emulating life on the dance floor. That's me training myself to say it's okay to exert your effort. It's okay to like push yourself and maybe not get the result, but the important thing is at least now you know that you're capable of turning it on, pushing all the way, and then if something doesn't work out, then that could be worked out. I could analyze it and figure out what could be done better. But anyways, This is a very like sensitive, touchy topic for me. So I could be ranting, and maybe some of this doesn't make sense or whatever. So if it does, it is what it is. And if you feel so inclined, you could reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to have a deeper conversation about this on a personal level. So, reaching over the whole 10-minute mark, which is a very rare occasion for me on this personal blog. So, I'm going to cut it here. I'm just going to share some links about other content dance opportunities that are happening. Actually, a lot is happening in the city right now, and it's very, very exciting. Um, People have their own different styles of facilitation, but I highly encourage anyone to walk in and check it out, and perhaps take some of these things that you're hearing in this blog and applying it or considering it when you're on the dance floor. So, inshallah, I will see you on the dance floor. I will put all that information in the Dropbox below, and have a lovely day.